In ancient Rome, not all wars were won with swords. Some were decided in silence, through whispers, shadows, and spies moving unseen. Tonight, we follow Marcus, a young spy, where one mistake could cost him his life. Before we begin, if you enjoy these ancient Rome bedtime stories, please like this video and subscribe. It truly helps me create more stories like this. Make yourself comfortable and then we begin. Rome was built on power, marble temples, golden statues, and endless crowds moving between markets and forums. But beneath that beauty was another truth: Rome thrived on secrets. Every senator had rivals. Every general had enemies. Every decision in the Senate carried whispers of betrayal. To survive, the emperors created networks of spies, the frumentarii. They pretended to be grain merchants or messengers, men who looked ordinary in every way. But their true purpose was silent: to gather information, to follow orders, and sometimes to kill. Marcus was one of the youngest. Forgettable in a crowd. Quick with his eyes. Silent with his steps. At first, his tasks had been small, like delivering sealed letters, listening to drunken merchants in taverns. But one evening, his orders changed. He was told to shadow a senator. And Marcus quickly learned that some shadows hide more than he was ready for. The night was warm. Oil lamps flickered in the forum, casting golden light on marble steps. Marcus walked at a careful pace, blending into the crowd. His brown cloak was plain, his hood pulled just low enough to hide his eyes. Ahead of him walked the senator, a man draped in white robes lined with purple. His sandals clapped against the stone, his guards keeping distance so he would appear untouchable. Marcus followed. Through the colonnades. Past the temples. Into the narrow alleys where the air grew colder. The senator did not walk like a man going home. His path was deliberate, cautious, like someone who wanted to vanish. Finally, the man slipped into an abandoned warehouse near the river. Marcus moved silently, pressing himself against the stone. He found a crack in the wall and listened. Inside, voices murmured. Not one, but several. Cloaked figures. A table with wax tablets. Gold-exchanged hands. Marcus caught fragments of words of bribes, soldiers, rebellion. And then he heard it, the senator's voice, swearing loyalty to men who were not the emperor. Marcus's heart raced. This was no private meeting. This was conspiracy. In ancient Rome, spies like the frumentarii were feared and hated. They reported directly to the emperor, often uncovering plots and scandals. But their lives were fragile. If they were caught spying on the wrong person, there was no trial, only torture and death. At the same time, many senators and generals formed secret alliances. Rome was always at risk of betrayal, not from foreign enemies, but from within its own walls. Marcus shifted his weight against the wall, trying to hear more. But then a stone rolled beneath his sandal. The sound echoed, sharp in the silence. "Who's there?" A voice barked. Torches flared and shadows moved. Marcus froze, every muscle tense. He pressed against the wall, but the door creaked open. Light spilled into the alley, chasing away the dark. A pair of eyes met his for an instant, and one of the cloaked men had seen him. Marcus turned and ran, and shouts erupted behind him. Torches lifted high, their flames bouncing against the walls. The conspirators surged into the alley, chasing him through the maze of Rome's back streets. Marcus leapt over a broken cart, slipped through a narrow passage, his cloak whipping behind him. His lungs burned, his heart thundered. He had to escape, but the voices grew closer. The sound of sandals on cobblestones grew louder, and Marcus knew this was not just survival. If they caught him, the conspiracy would remain hidden and Rome itself would be at risk. Through twisting streets he fled. Past beggars curled in doorways, past taverns where drunken voices shouted. He vaulted a low wall, darted through a courtyard, and vanished into the shadows of the Subura. The district where even Rome's guards hesitated to follow, the conspirators split apart, searching every alley. Marcus pressed himself against the stone wall, holding his breath, his dagger clutched tight in his hand. Torchlight flickered past, shadows stretching long across the stones. When the voices faded, he slipped into a side passage. Finally, he reached the hidden entrance of an old bathhouse, long abandoned. Beneath it lay his safe house, a damp cellar lined with broken amphorae and crumbling stone. There, by the dim light of a single oil lamp, Marcus etched his report into wax tablets. Every name, every oath, and every whispered word. But even as he wrote, fear gnawed at him. Would his message ever reach the Emperor's eyes, or would his life end in the shadows before the truth was known? At dawn, Marcus entered the barracks where the other spies moved like ghosts. His report was delivered to his superior, who was an old man, his face lined from years of shadows. The man read silently, then looked up, his eyes sharp. "You've seen too much," he said coldly. "And now you cannot step back." Marcus realized the truth. There was no leaving this life. A Roman spy carried secrets heavier than armor, more dangerous than any blade. And once you carried them, you could never walk in the sunlight again. That night, Marcus walked the forum once more. The marble temples gleamed in torchlight. Merchants shouted in the markets. Senators carried themselves as if their power was eternal. But Marcus knew what lay beneath. Behind every robe of purple, behind every gilded statue, there were whispers waiting to be uncovered. Rome thrived on shadows. And in those shadows walked men like Marcus, spies whose stories would never be told, but whose silence shaped the empire itself. This was the story of Marcus, a spy in ancient Rome, who moved unseen through alleys and ruins where betrayal waited in every corner.